chopped and screwed right now. I don't know.
Posse, 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 posse. Don't call me no more and don't text me no more. I ain't discussing nothing. You can go and hit the door. Get up out on my ride. Forget you, let the Chevy door hit you with a good low split you. Don't call me no more and don't text me no more. I ain't discussing nothing. You can go and hit the door. Get up out on my ride. Forget you, let the Chevy door hit you with a good low split you. Don't call me no more and don't text me no more. I ain't discussing nothing. You can go and hit the door. Get up out on my ride. Forget you, let the Chevy door hit you with
All right, welcome my friends, welcome. The music changed, so you know what time it is. Hold on, I gotta adjust my mic really quickly. All right, guys, so we'll just settle in here for a second. We'll get started in like 30 seconds. What up, everybody? What up? My mic is in a terrible location. Next stream I might have an upgraded mic, by the way. I'm about to put in the order for, I don't remember what model number I'm ordering, so don't start questioning me on that, nerds, but, I'm ordering one of the Shure mics, so we're gonna upgrade from a $100 mic to a $500 mic. I'm hoping that will improve the quality just a little bit. Alright guys, so we'll get started here in a second. Thanks for tuning in. Just gonna chill for a minute. Low viewer count today. Probably has a lot to do, to be honest, with, you know, the market sentiment and whatnot. Today I'm going to do my standard rundown. We'll look at Bitcoin, high time frame, medium time frame, work our way into alts. I want to share my plans around how I think you should be expecting to trade the next few months. My plans around when I actually think it makes sense to buy alts, because like I've been advocating for a long time, you want to be lightweight on alts these days, right? The price action that we just saw over the past few days was evident as to why. Once Bitcoin momentum really shows up, right, and is clear, I'm going to buy shitters. And they're going to go up a lot, and it's going to be a 3-week long period, and we're going to sell them, and it's going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? But the timing of alts really is the hardest thing about it. So I'm going to do my best to not necessarily leak like alpha per se, but try to explain my edge around alts. So stick around for the altcoin section. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, anything like that. Probably should go ahead and... Oh, I already had it turned off. Boomer. All right, I'm just gonna read chat really quickly. Yeah, I'm old. Thank you, Nelly. I take pride in, these days, since I try to play non-copyright music, I can't really play a lot of good songs normally, but over the years, I always took pride in playing good music for the boys. Can your new MacBook? I don't use ExoCharts. I just set up my MacBook yesterday. I didn't like even log into any of my like, you know, accounts or anything. Like I didn't log into TradingView or Discord or anything. So I haven't really gotten a whole lot of time to experiment with it, but it's cool. Honestly, the hard selling argument for Mac products is their like physical aesthetics. It's just a physically nice laptop to hold in your hands. And as dumb as that sounds to a lot of you guys, that's genuinely the reason why I bought it. All the PC laptops I've ever had, they're great, but you hold them in their hands and they feel like pieces of shit. And I'm saying that as a hardcore, like, you know, PC fanboy, right? I've pretty much been PC only for a long time now. All right, my friends, beach or mountains? Damn, Night coming in with the crazy thing. So my stance on that is when you're younger, the mountains are better, but as you get older, you got to go more beach, right? Because when you're old, the cold weather is a real serious problem for you when you're old. So I would definitely say when you're younger, like sub 50, mountains are the place for, you know, get that skiing experience and whatnot. But as you get older, I think you got to live on the beach. Feels premium. Yeah, they've done a good job with it for sure. What up, gambler? All right, guys, so I'm going to lock in here for a second and get into some stuff here. So sit back and enjoy. If you have any questions or there's any confusion around any of the explanations that I give, just throw it in the chat, and I'll always do my best to cover it and answer stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to pass on some lessons today. And, yeah, we'll just see where the stream takes us. So let's get into a little bit of macro. Okay, the macro situation, to be clear, I don't have my actual like prep work notes in front of me. I'm just going to do everything off the dome. When I do official stuff in Paragon, it's always note oriented. All right, so just a little bit of macro yap, right? So for me, main talking points, there's a little bit of review for you guys, right? It's boring, but point number one, point number two, what are the same points I always go over when we start the macro conversation? The trend is up. Point number one, right? I'm a trend respector. Especially when we're talking about just like incredibly powerful assets like Bitcoin, right? There's just no reason to, be focused on when is it over, when's the top coming, blah, 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 right? We're trend respectors. All my plans revolve around us trading higher. Eventually, there's going to be a point where this trend is going to die, but the expected value around trying to time the top is so much lower, right, than just being a retarded bull and just, riding the wave. So that's the general stance, right? Point number 2 is the seasonality argument, right? As we got, you know, the way that momentum played out this year definitely was a little bit awkward, but still fell somewhere in line with the typical schematic of, you know, you go into the summertime, right? And you don't expect momentum to persist. So that's where I'm at. We're getting really close to the end of Q3. Q4 is right around the corner for us right now, guys. You know, a little bit over a month away. And that's when I think the spice is going to really start to come back for us. So these were the main kind of plans that I had. I weighted the range reclaim as one of the higher probability scenarios because I just didn't really see us trading down here. My gut feeling was that if we were going to trade down this low, that we were going to end up going lower. So I'm not eager to buy into this dip right now. I would preach caution on Bitcoin. If you're buying dips on ETH, that's a different story. But I'm preaching caution on dip buying on Bitcoin, even though I'm really, really confident that in a month or two, right, the trend is going to start to pick back up again for us. So right now, my main, let's move over to this chart without the drawings. We're at the end all be all macro support, right? 110K is your level of levels, right? It doesn't matter what kind of trader you are. Everybody's going to see these same levels. So this is where I'm at right now, right? This level is, too much of a consensus kind of thing. So as much as I don't want this to be the case, my gut tells me that this is going to trade lower. And I'm wrong if we play out similarly to, I don't even know if this is on the chart. I've talked about this before, right? The idea of the 10K flip being kind of similar to where we're at now. Not in market stage, because this is clearly at the beginning of the trend and we're obviously at the later stage of the trend, but structurally it feels the same in a lot of ways. So maybe there's a scenario where we just trade down here into 110, right? And, you know, do a rounded out bottom over the next month and then trade up, right? You know, so let's paint that, right? Something like rounded out bottom, you start to trade up into Q4, a fuck you move at the beginning of Q4 and trade up higher later and, you know, into the end of the year. That's a scenario I could see taking place. If this is going to be the bottom, this is probably what it's going to look like. My gut tells me, though, that, you know, if you want to buy spot at 110, that's totally sensible, right? I'm completely on board with that. But trying to like leverage buy right now at 109, I just think that it's just too much of a gamble. If you want to be the guy that bottom ticks the long, then go for it. But I personally would rather just get a worse entry and not have to deal with the threat of immediate drawdown coming at any moment, right? All it's going to take is one more, you know, wave of sell pressure, and anybody that's long right now is going to be cooked. Okay, so that's kind of, just pausing really quickly, that's kind of where I'm at with some of my main thoughts. You know, some other levels that are going to be really important are going to be 90K and 100K. My feeling, right, is that, let's delete all this. If this is the start of Q4, the thing that I'm confident on is us trading higher, you know, maybe Q4, maybe even into Q1 of next year. What I said in my outlook on Monday was that to be honest, I don't even know how to gauge consensus, what consensus is nowadays. Sometimes I feel like up only in Q4 is consensus, and then I look at Twitter over the past couple of days, and it's like, well, clearly, you know, a lot of people think it's all over and that Bitcoin's about to go to 50K. So I don't know. My gut feeling is that consensus is around Q4. And if we see any bullishness, everybody will be saying the same thing. We're going to go up only Q4. And that's why I keep preaching the idea of a fuck you move at the end of Q3 or the beginning of Q4, right? Anytime we have an argument, you know, like this was a consensus move, right? But they just didn't make it easy for you, right? You know, basically we just ripped off of the Trump election, right? And if you were being patient and trying to buy after Trump, then you didn't even have an entry, right? So we'll go ahead and kind of pause. I'll re-chat here in a second. I don't have a ton of, you know, additional macro points to add. If you guys have any questions about like levels or anything like that, by all means, don't worry. Don't start asking about the alts because we're going to do a full altcoin section when we get there. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at, guys. I'm just very, very patient right now. My portfolio is heavily consolidated around Bitcoin, you know, and I've got some ETH, I've got some Solana, I've got some Doge, but I'm just kind of just chilling. Waiting for everybody else to, you know, continue to capitulate and give up, lose all their money, and then we're going to go higher. Just like every other year before, right? It's just crazy how We just do the same patterns over and over again. And they make it's difficult for you to participate even though you know what's going to happen, because of how much time is spent in between, right? All right, my friends. So feel free to hit me with any macro questions if you've got them. Don't put me in the same fucking sentence as that Hal guy. That's crazy, bro. Could be September 6th, 2024. I don't even know what that is, bro. Yeah. Wait, 26th? I think your dates are off. If I was going to compare it to anything, I would say it looks really similar to this right now, guys. I mean, right? It's the same pattern. All right, guys, any questions around macro? Now's your time, definitely. Thanks, Cryptoski. Do you see a blow off top for Q1 next year? Look, guys, it's just too much into the realm of prediction, you know. I already am lame enough with how much I try to predict things. The whole prediction stuff has its use case because it helps me be prepared for the theoreticals. But yeah, trying to tell you when the top is going to be, I just can't do that, right? I could barely tell you when the bottoms are going to come, right? I don't want to come on these streams and lie to you and just make some shit up. I could totally do that where I could just be like, you know what, guys? I think that the top is going to be February 23rd at 1800 UTC. There you go. You know, and then when I'm right about that, and the top is going to be 168.2. There you go. And now when I'm right, I'm fucking the coolest guy ever. And then when that doesn't come true, we'll just all forget about it. So welcome to LARPing 101. I'm just explaining the frame of mind, right, as to why I don't want to be cringe and do that stuff. If you really want me to just make shit up, I'm down, you know? I'll make shit up for you, but I'm going to always preface it with, I don't fucking know the answer. Okay, but yeah, guys, just pay it day by day, right? You know, I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but I've sold tops before on alts many times, and I've sold a couple of Bitcoin tops, right? And you don't sell the top by just always sitting there waiting for the fucking top, right? You sell the top by being a committed bull and then just being open-minded when the momentum shift comes, right? When does that like kind of actual paradigm shift in the market come? And they don't come very often. They're very few and far between. Okay, thoughts on left shift in capital? What do you mean, Eric? Left shift in capital? You mean shifting down into riskier stuff? If you mean shifting down, like buying riskier stuff, once Bitcoin bottoms out and has momentum, that's when I'm going to allocate. I'm going to do an explanation on that. Eric, if I didn't answer your question, just re-ask it, bro. So do you think alts like Solana follow ETH higher before low caps? I'm not optimistic on like low cap. Like I don't have a stance on low caps in general, right, guys? I've taught these lessons for a long time, so it should be review for most of you, but you know, I just view the idea that Bitcoin's going to lead. You're going to have a small handful of altcoins, things like Ethereum, you know, and maybe Hyperliquid. A couple of these small, you know, a very small handful of coins will perform alongside Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin reaches this, so this is the stage where you have the small batch of performers, and then once you reach this stage is when the aggregate plays catch up. This is when any random coin that exists will probably be going up a lot, right, during this stage. And then you get to the later stages where those same alts that went up a lot are now going down here, right? And then you do the cycle all over again. So the idea is that, like, I do think that Solana can do well. I don't think that Solana is probably set up to outperform ETH, but I think it's a good split bet, right? The whole tribalism of, oh, I'm going to be a Hyperliquid only guy, I'm going to be a Solana only guy, I'm going to be a ETH only guy, that's dumb. I understand if you straight up just don't have the capital to split your bets between them and you feel like you have to concentrate and pick one, that's fair. But if you have the capital to bet on all three, just bet on all three. There's literally zero reason to be a tribalist and pick Solana over ETH or vice versa. In a meta like right now where there's relatively strong performance across the board on them, right? If this was 2023, I would have said the opposite, where you only bet on Solana, right? But it's just different days. Okay, I'm gonna read through the rest of the questions and then we'll move on to VWAPs and medium time frame. Thoughts on a big move up towards 118K from here? It totally could happen. 118K is extremely strong resistance right now, so you shouldn't really expect it to. Shouldn't expect 118K to break, but you're talking about us bottoming at 109, trading up to 118, and then going all the way down to 105. Could it happen? Absolutely. Is that what I would say? I would expect. That's too much time. In order for us to bounce, it's going to take a week. Trade down a couple of weeks, make a bottom a couple of weeks. By then, I feel like we should have already bottomed and traded up. You know, we're talking about a month's time. I think that instead of us trading up, we'll probably just keep trading down, bottom out here soonish. And, you know, it'll probably be a rounded out bottoming process. Maybe it's something like one of these kind of, you know, painful-ish bottoms. People are going to be scared. I mean, structure looks bad right now as is, just like it did in the previous range, and that's just how she goes. Okay, yeah, I had the date wrong, Jaggers, but I was in the same area. It doesn't really matter. BTC down, Solana and ETH slope in tandem. That's obviously what's happening right now. Definitely not the most optimistic of things, right? Because, you know, I don't have infinite data points because I haven't traded forever and crypto hasn't been around forever. But traditionally, when you see the reins get taken over for king mode and ETH takes over from Bitcoin, right? It's not normally a good thing. It normally means we're at the we're approaching the end, right? So I really only see one more wave of growth in the space before I start to really change my tune on things. When you were working full-time and learning to trade, how did you go about adding funds to your portfolio, buying spot, adding to perp account, both? Similar? So things were really different back then, bro. Like the whole like spot and perp account, right? We didn't have stable coins back then, so I didn't like my perp account was not that dissimilar from my spot account because I had Bitcoin on my perp account, right? When I traded on BitMEX, it was Bitcoin spot. I mean, bro, the simple answer is you just, go about adding to these things as you can. When you have disposable income and you can park it into, Bitcoin, just do so, when you feel like you got a little extra money that you can put into your perp trading account, then go for it. Realistically, Coleman, I would urge most of you guys, though, to not be trying to throw a whole bunch of money into your perp account all the time and just prove to yourself that you can trade with $100, $500 before you start loading it up with thousands of bands, There's really no point. It's such a cliche lesson you've heard a million times, but if you can't trade $100, how are you going to trade 100,000, right? You're going to do way worse with more money. So I don't know where you're at with your character arc. I'm just spitting out some bullshit for you. I didn't read that Udi guy article, no. I know the guy, I follow him, he follows me. I have never read anything from him, though. Off topic, but do you have any thoughts on selling /TP my day trades? Had recent good entries and setups, whatever. I always find myself taking profit too early or too late, as per my journal. Oh, my friend, look, for day trading or scalping, if you're finding yourself taking profit too early, that's good, right? As long as you're not finding yourself taking profit too late, that's when it becomes a problem. I take profit too early on most of my intraday trades, probably. When I trade Bitcoin, I get pretty good with the exits because I'm really in tune with Bitcoin. But if I intraday trade an altcoin or anything like that, I'm going to sell it too early or close out the short too early, like every time. And that's fine. That's just part of being a day trader or whatever. So just accept that. Day traders are going to close their trades out too early. And every 1 out of 25 day trades could have been a massive swing trade. And you could have just sat in it and printed. But for every one of those, you're going to have 24 that round trip if you swing for the fences. So just lock that bitch in and find the next trade. That's truly the best advice for that kind of stuff. You think there's a possibility this cycle will be longer? Of course, guys. Anybody that says, like, you know, with certainty, like, oh, the cycle's going to be short, the cycle's going to be long, nobody fucking knows, right? You know, there's theoretically, the whole super cycle meme thing could be playing out in front of us. I don't, you know, really buy into that fully. I think that Bitcoin's drawdown stages will always be less than they were in the past, but Bitcoin's going to have a 20% drawdown, 30% drawdown, you know, at some point, right? So who knows, guys? Just always keep an open-minded, right? Open-minded approach. Every day, you're open-minded. You don't really give that much of a shit about all the yapping on Twitter. It's over. It's just starting people. Ignore all those people. Have an open mind, and when, you know, when things start to shift in another direction, and you know, things feel different in the space, you'll sell, and you know, you won't sell the top probably with that approach, but that's fine. Selling the top is a meme. TradFi is going to drag out the cycle. Yeah, seems that way. But honestly, I'm down for it. You know, let the TradFi guys do the Ponzi stuff and make our coins go up. Is it possible for ETH and alts to have their own up season while Bitcoin has a correction to 95K ish? I don't really see that being the case. Only if Bitcoin's selling, because that's Bitcoin going to 95. That's a lot, right? It's a substantial pullback from where it's at still, even though it's already pulled back a lot. That's a lot of selling. The only way that I could say that that would be a possibility is if the selling was so slow to where this is what the selling looked like. If we just like very, very, very slowly sold, maybe you could see alts rally. But guys, I'm going to be 100% with you. If Bitcoin sells off, it's a really high chance that everything else will be red too. I don't, you know, the things that could be green with Bitcoin kind of bleeding is going to be like 1 or 2 coins, right? Which would probably be like ETH. I would not be super optimistic on your altcoins, guys. It's just the general, like, you guys have got it. I've taught this for years and years and years now. Understand the basic idea of benchmark and beta relationships. Bitcoin is the benchmark. It tells the altcoins what they can and cannot do, right? This coin determines the rules for 99.9% of the coins, right? Once you understand that, and I've been saying it for years, so it's not like it's new, you know, it really will unlock a more effective frame of mind for trading crypto. Left shit. Everyone anticipating the top and trying to sell earlier so the top happens earlier. That's interesting. No, I don't think that that's the case, because the people that you see trying to sell the top don't fucking matter, right? So when people on CT yap about, like, you know, selling the top, right? Like, I could go sell, like, if I could go market sell my whole Bitcoin stack right now, and yeah, you know, I'll move price, you know, a little bit, but not really, right? And like in the grand scheme of things, not going to affect price. So people trying to sell the top, right? I don't think that that's going to contribute to the top coming earlier, because the people that matter for tops and bottoms are mostly net buyers these days, right? It's the fucking ETFs and the treasury companies, right? That's what matters. So when those guys are done, if those guys ever are forced to sell, like, if those guys are ever forced to sell, we're in deep shit, right? But for the time being, I think that the cycle is either, you know, just don't care about the cycle dates, guys. It's just a meme. It could go longer, it could go shorter. We just take it day by day. How do you scalp Bitcoin in this environment? I don't scalp Bitcoin these days. I would not suggest scalping Bitcoin. If you want to scalp, you gotta scalp alts, because they're just so much more volatile and more forgiving. But easy shill is, yeah, I've just got the full system in the Paragon. I think I have 14 educational scalping videos now. The last few weeks looked almost like a big deviation from the previous range. You think this is being overly bearish? Not really. I mean, it's a valid argument, right? Like, if this is the range that we just built out, right, it looks like we're deviating and re-accepting back into it. I think that we're gonna just, you know, it's just all about perspective, right? Deviations of a deviation of a deviation. Yeah, this is a deviation, but so could this be, right? If price rounds out and trades back up all of a sudden, then what we're doing right now is a deviation. So what you're saying is not wrong at all. This clearly looks like an invalidation of this larger 9-month range, but take it day by day. You guys are chatting in the chat. Motherfuckers be chatting. I can't see the like count because my web browser's bugged, but I'm sure the likes aren't mathing. So 140 of you in here, press that like button for me. All right, I'm going to try to get through the rest of these questions and then move on to the rest of the presentation. No problem, Coleman. What's my current outlook on the market? Sideways / down and then a lot higher. Are you hedged on your longs? No. XRP having third biggest market cap, still good play. I kind of like Ripple. I would not play Ripple at all right now, but once Bitcoin goes into risk on, I think that Ripple will probably be a massive performer because it's clearly going to be one of the things that your average dumbass retail person sprints to buy. Oh, Bitcoin's on earned 45K. I'm gonna go buy Ripple, right? That's what they're gonna do. So I'm sure it'll be good, but only under that specific environment. Don't worry, guys. I haven't gotten to the altcoin section yet, but I will cover the alts in detail. Deb, I already answered that question. The TLDR is just yeah, buy lows and sell highs. I don't want to do a full scalping presentation right now when I've got the content already made in Paragon. Have we talked about the flippening yet? I don't... Lucifer, you're a freak, so you'll probably actually follow through with this. Go and scrape my Twitter and see if I've ever mentioned the flippening once in my life. I don't think I've ever been supportive of that flippening narrative. Maybe back in like 2017 when I was a complete moron. I don't know. I don't think I tweeted in 2017 though. I think I started in 2018. What's your maximum risk in a trade when conviction is the highest? I don't know how to answer that question, JL, because it's just like missing a lot of like detail, right? Like, what's your max? Like, so I have my approach to risk is I separate thesis and and positional risk. They're not the same thing. My thesis risk could be minus 40-50% on the coin before it goes higher, right? But that doesn't mean I'm gonna sit in 40-50% drawdown. So my maximum positional risk is not going to be that far. I'm not going to let myself, there's a difference between a positional thing like my Bitcoin, right? Which, by the way, I did the math of what my average Bitcoin buy was, or at least I had an app do it for me. I was very happy to see, even though I've bought Bitcoin over 100K and my average is still 42K. At least on Coinbase it was. So, to answer your question, bro, I'm not going to let myself go into 10-15% drawdown on trades, but, like, there's just not enough context to your question for me to give a really good answer, Risk, the way that it's taught at the surface level day one, is not really how you want to be doing it in the long run, right? It's explained that way because it's digestible, but you got to move beyond the fixed risk perimeters in the future. Step one for a lot of you guys is probably learning how to do the manual stops part first, which again, another Paragon shield. I've got the video on that. Would it not be higher EV to focus on swing longing ETH and SOL into Q4? Well, I mean, I am gonna swing long I'm trying to swing long every, all the big strong things. I'm not gonna just be in Bitcoin. It's about risk, right? I'm not telling you that I'm consolidated around Bitcoin right now because I want to only be long Bitcoin into Q4. It's about defending myself in these stages when I don't have confidence in us trading up. So in these stages, like if I was allocated to alts right now, I'd be like, going into severe drawdown. So I'm allocated to Bitcoin primarily just for that reason, right? But what was your question even? I think being long ETH into Q4 is definitely plus EV, 100%. But I'm pretty much always going to be long Bitcoin to some extent, unless I think we're in. I'm basically always going to be long Bitcoin. Even if we're in a bear market, I won't ever sell my Bitcoin stack down to 0 Bitcoin. I don't really imagine ever doing that. But yeah, I mean, being long Solana, I don't know about Solana as much as ETH, but time will tell, right? You guys got to realize that when we're in this stage of like the bleed out stage before we trade higher, this is when you don't necessarily know what the strong coins are going to be until the bottom starts to form, right? On a relative performance, as you trade down, you look at what's trading down the least, things like ETH. So you put ETH on your radar, right? But then we want to see how the bottoming process takes place and what actually starts to bottom first. And from there, you can choose what to pick, right? So Solana doesn't actually serve as a #1 contender right now, but in a month's time, that could be different. That's the point I'm trying to make. What do you think about September Red? I mean, that's more, you know, I think, you know, seasonality, cyclicality is something I've taught for many years now. I know it gets memed on and it doesn't always play out the way that it used to, but, you know, clearly on some level it's playing out right now in front of us. I think that, yes, statistically, September is not a good month for crypto performance. However, when everybody knows that maybe changes some things. So I almost feel like a lot of the September selling is coming at the now, right? So I think that September will probably be more of a bottoming month than a down month, but who knows, right? That's definitely just fucking complete speculation and guessing. Thoughts on Sol versus ETH? We can look at that when we get to the altcoin section. I think swing short alts and hedge Bitcoin with BTC or major long is a good trade to hold throughout Q4. I think being short alts in Q4 is going to blow you the fuck out. I think that shorting alts on any time frame other than like lowish time frame is so fucking negative EV a lot of the time, guys. It gets taught to you like it's a free trade because when we go into stages like this, like shorting alts during this stage feels free, but it just takes one day and everything evaporates for you. So to each their own, guys. If you get away, if you are successful at shorting alts, then more power to you. But it's not my cup of tea. I'll take 15 to 10%. That's not really a legitimate answer, JL, for the record, but I didn't have a good answer for you, to be honest. Okay, guys, I caught up with chat. I'm going to skip over the VWAP section just to move through things. So I said I would look at Solana ETH, so we'll look at that really quickly. I'm going to start the altcoin section here. Actually, you know what? I'm going out of place. Really quickly on the medium time frame. This is where we're at, right? So this is my medium time frame plan. This is the range that we had built up, and the idea was either we're going to reclaim the range successfully or we're going to build out a range between these two ranges. So this is the pattern that we've been doing recently, right? Range, markup, range, build a range between the two. We're doing the same thing right now. Range, markup, range, range between the two. So I know this chart looks kind of ugly. I'll come do a clean chart for you and redraw it. Let the profile load up here a second. There we go. Okay, 18K, 118 high volume node, and then the 110K high volume node. Now you got the low volume in between the two. Essentially, we're gonna build out a range in the low volume. That's the general idea right now. If we start to lose like 109, 108, that means that you're reaccepting back into this HVN. So if you lose 108, 109, it means that you probably come in the direction of 102. I don't want to see that happen. Although if I did get an opportunity to bid, I probably would, like, if I got an opportunity to swing long bid like 104 to 102, I probably would send that. It's context, you know, I need some context, you know, so it's not like I'm just going to blindly bid that level. That's kind of where we're at. So those are let's clean that up really quickly for you. 118K, very, very strong resistance right now. 114, very strong resistance. Actually, it's like 115. The low volume node is from 115 to 111. If we lose the region where we're at right now, that takes us back into the HVN, which means that we'll move in the direction of like 104, 103. So that's the medium time frame plan pretty much right there. All right, guys. I don't think I have too much else to say, right? I've been saying this for a while now that like we obviously have a lack of momentum and the structuring is choppish. So you know, like I said in many of the recent outlooks, any sort of up move you want to be aggressively taking profit into and not expecting any sort of momentum to come. As we get, you know, September's right around the corner. I think September will probably be more likely the bottoming process for us. Maybe we can get a bottoming process down into this HVN, so it looks like this maybe. Who knows? Maybe you get to bid 104K and that was your mega swing long territory. I could see that being the case. But yeah, I don't have any like concrete plans for you guys other than the like level argument. You just need to be patient over the next month as we bottom out. I'm not going to be medium time frame trading this with Bitcoin being kind of low volatility right now. I'd rather intraday trade spicier alts like ETH and Solana to keep myself entertained while I'm setting myself up for the swing trade. I don't really see the expected value being super positive to trade a whole lot of lower time frame Bitcoin right now. And if there's any medium time frame questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, we'll move over to alts here in a sec. I don't know what's going on in the chat right now. No problem, Evan. Glad to help. Yeah, just DM Lucifer. Just DM Doc. He's on vacation for his birthday, so it's the perfect time for you to go ask him for a refund for your liquidation when he's trying to enjoy himself. So there you go. No, Lucifer is never serious, you dweebs. Heard Christian. I'm pretty sure he just rugged the coin the other day. When you get a chance, can you look at hype? Yeah, no problem, bro. We'll definitely look at hype. Get MNT. All right, guys, let's chill. The alt tickers have already begun. I'm gonna be taking a vacation in September. Living off the grid, coming in with the real people questions. This guy cares about me right here. It's a real one. I'm definitely in burnout stage right now. I have the ability to kind of push myself through burnout. I don't know why, but I do it anyways. So I'm gonna take a little time off in September probably. All right, my friends. So let's get into some alt conversation. I'll check chat here in a second. First thing we wanted to look at was the Sol ETH conversation. I don't ever really look at these kind of charts for the record. The only paired trades that I look at are against Bitcoin. So ETH against Bitcoin, for example. I don't ever look at Sol against Bitcoin. The argument is people are going to say, is Solana bottoming against ETH right now, right? And I got to say, it's a tough argument for you to make. The momentum loss, maybe, there's not a whole lot of downside momentum right now. But yeah, I would not argue. When you look at this, right, it's just like when we traded, when we looked at ETH BTC, right? Let's look at this on the yearly. Anybody that tried to call bottom on ETH BTC, it was just pain for them over and over again until it finally came. I would not try to call the bottom on Solana against ETH, if I'm being honest, guys. All right, so yeah, we'll just go ahead and move over and start off with ETH, right? So obviously ETH is just straight up in king mode right now. For years, the argument was if it's just going to trade up and retrace, we don't give a fuck, right? The argument is we want it to trade up and have a structural shift, right? And that's clearly taking place right now. There's an actual structural shift on ETH. And if you combine the chart looking like this with the stupid, fundamental arguments, ETH is a valid continuation play right now. So dips are for buying on this. Let's look at it on the dollar chart. I've been buying dips on ETH. I don't know what my average is. I think it's like 4,200. I don't actually remember, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that ETH is gonna just be this thing that just goes up a million% or anything. It's gonna feel really similar to what Bitcoin felt like over the past few years, where it's just gonna slowly keep going up and make you money real slow. It's not gonna be a fucking 1000x over a week though, by any means, obviously. I don't have a whole lot to say on this thing because we're about to enter into price discovery, so use round numbers. So 5,500, 6,900, these will be levels that will matter for sure. But that's pretty much where I'm at. If you guys have any questions around ETH, you can definitely hit me. Thanks, guys. Thoughts about the September rate cut? The sell the news event. I mean, so I've already covered this, like on the Monday Outlook and stuff. The TLDR is I just don't care at all about like rates. You know, they get cut or they don't. All my plans end up in the same direction, higher. So it doesn't really matter to me that much, from a market standpoint. My layman's take on this is that, if inflation is clearly a major talking point because it's running rampant these days, and if you have rates getting cut and inflation high, I mean, you basically couldn't ask for a better scenario on a macro picture for Bitcoin and crypto to trade higher. So that's more or less where we're at, guys. I don't really care that much, about trying to speculate whether the cuts are going to come or not. It's not really, worthwhile for you. Ask yourself, are you going to actually predict whether they're going to come or not? Or are you just going to watch some guy's fucking Twitter feed? Or it's just not really useful for you. You know what I mean? So I would say take everything with a grain of salt. If the rate cut does come in, then that would signal a pretty strong shift, right? If rates start to trend in the direction of lower, I mean, I think that bodes really poorly in the long term. It's just going to mean that we're going to blow up harder at the end, but it means that your risk assets will go higher. So it'll be like a sprint to, if they start lowering rates, I almost look at it like it's a sprint to stack up some cheddar over the next year or two before everybody blows up and dies, But we'll digress from that. You should not take anything I say on the macro stuff too seriously. Take it all with a grain of salt. Favorite vacation? Ever? I've been very, very fortunate to travel all over the world many times, so I've gotten to go to a lot of cool spots. I would honestly say some of the just little islands in the Southeast Asia were some of my favorite spots. Beautiful and disgustingly inexpensive. You can stay, this is a long time ago, but I remember staying at like an actual 5-star resort, and I think it was $200 a night, which over here where I live, $200 a night gets you an absolute dog shit hotel, so it was crazy to go over there and have that experience. Puppy pick? How's the puppy? The puppy's good. I think he's asleep right now. I had him running around before I started the stream. We were playing fetch in the backyard. He's a fetch. His instinct is he loves fetch. I didn't have to teach him that. He just instantly we started playing fetch day one. And he also loves sticks, which is hilarious. He's like such a cliche little boy dog because you give him a stick and he just you watch him get so excited and start prancing around with it. So anyways, thanks for asking about the dog. He's good. Brings joy to my life. Can't imagine a rate cut with inflation high. Yeah, I don't really know what they're fucking doing over there. It seems pretty retarded. They're gonna lower rates while inflation's high. Then inflation is gonna stay high. Then they're not gonna have any. Lowering rates is just gonna make inflation worse. So I don't know what their plans are, honestly. I don't really care though, because at the end of the day, you can't worry about all that stuff. This bodes well for our assets. I think Trump will enforce rate cuts. He doesn't have the ability to do that, guys. I'll look at hype, Jeggers, you bastard. I saw a scenario where Bitcoin would go to 92K. How's that possibility? I mean, anything's a possibility. I don't know how to answer that. Oh, I don't care about CME gaps and stuff, so that's not something I'm accounting for. Look, I don't think that we're gonna go to 90K, but if it does happen, it's just that's the kind of region where you're probably gonna just send everything that you have, everything you can afford to spend on Bitcoin. You put it in there, I don't really see us going that low though. $200 a night gets you an infection in the States, 100%. Mostly Indonesian islands, but I've been all over Southeast Asia. I just spent like most of the time there. Stick is better than expensive toys, 100%. It's crazy how much my dog loves sticks, and I spoil him. He's got a lot of toys. He's probably got 25 toys in the living room right now, no exaggeration. Share a good traveling hack? Good traveling hack? Try not to check bags when you can avoid it. If you can be the guy, the Giga Chad, that keeps everything, you got a backpack and a carry-on, and you keep all your clothes in the backpack. There was a bunch of times where I was traveling and didn't check bags, and so nice to get off the plane and just be able to instantly leave the airport and not have to wait for your bag, you know? How you pack your bags matters a lot too. I don't want to get into that, but like, yeah. I come from a nerdy military family, so I was taught how to pack a bag properly when I was a kid. That actually matters though, right? If you go on like a 2-week trip, how you pack your bag makes a huge difference, like from an efficiency standpoint and how it feels on your back, right? You got to put the weight in the bottom. That's the real alpha you guys come here for, is the travel alpha. You have the yearly naked and Bach from 2020 on your chart. No, I've got the yearly single from 2013 on my chart though. Come to Bali? Yeah, you live in Bali? I've been to Bali multiple times, man. Honestly, a lot of the smaller islands I enjoyed more than Bali. Like Lombok was probably my favorite, and Gili T and all the Gili Islands were really cool. Haven't been there in 11 years though, so it's been a schminute. What's the greatest country slash... What the fuck did I just get asked? Is definitely... the one thing I can answer that question with the utmost confidence is definitely not the English. As somebody who's friends with a lot of British folk, they're definitely not number one. When is the right time to play meme coins? When Bitcoin goes up higher, bro. When Bitcoin has momentum, go buy alts. Go buy memes. Go gamble on trenchers. Travel light, do laundry on the trip. Bring detergent seats. There you go. Yeah, even like if you buy nicer clothes too, for example, they can actually help you a lot with travel. So like when I traveled a lot, I had like I still have them. I just don't have a full wardrobe of this shit anymore. But like merino wool shirts and socks and underwear. Merino wool, you can like clean it without even cleaning. You can just like rinse a little water through it, rain it out, and then let it air dry, and then it's pretty decent after that. Merino wool is expensive though. Is the only thing. But some of you outdoor nerds know about it. Optimal backpacking is an art, 100%. Yeah, I got taught early on. So we still good play? Probably not, bro. I'm gonna start alts here in 2 seconds. About to finish up with chat, and then we'll start up the alts. What the fuck, Lucifer? Indonesian, never been to Lombok? Just try to go, man. I can't. I don't wanna like butcher the names because I totally forget the temple that I went to, but. There's a big temple on, a Buddhist temple on Lombok that I went and did, I hiked the temple for the morning sunrise, and it was fucking awesome. I got some of the best pictures I've ever taken in my life from there. The English, yes sir. Magus PR? My PR is not that high. I think the best I've ever done was I repped 225 9 times, and then my cousin had to help me rack it on the 10th. But when you realize that I only weighed like 165 and I was just casually repping 225, I can't do that right now. No shot. I have tendonitis in my left elbow, and so I don't lift as heavy as I used to. But I was pretty strong for a minute in 2024. English subpar genetics, probably the worst. I'm screenshotting that and sending that to every one of my English friends right now. Thanks for the chit chat. Hey, you know, I'm down. Maybe you've explained this, but do you think just holding Bitcoin and ETH for like the next 10 years, no leverage? I think the certainty around ETH is a lot lower for that. The path forward for Bitcoin over the next 10 years seems really clear to me. If you hold Bitcoin over the next 10 years, you're gonna have, you know, more purchasing power at the end of it. I think that that is probably similar for ETH because ETH has a lot going for it as well now. And ETH is clearly setting itself up to be like the payment rail system in some ways with stables. And stables are going to keep growing. If I was just say that specifically though, like if you want to just do nothing for the next 10 years and sit in spot, just buy Bitcoin. I can't say the same level of confidence of, you know, I can't say the same level of confidence at all for ETH, right? ETH's relative performance has been terrible over the past few years, you know, so I can't make that argument. I would just, if you want to do nothing, just buy Bitcoin. Thank you, Sons. I was proud of it at the time for sure. Random, but any alpha on decent keyboard and mouse combo for the desk? Never bought them, but need them now. When you're starting out, I think the Keychron is great. Keychron, because they're pretty inexpensive. So you can get a decent Keychron for 60, 70 bucks. That's what I use on my work computer right now. My favorite keyboard I've ever bought though is the Wu-Ting 60HE, but that's for gaming. But yeah, I mean the quality of the Wu-Ting keyboard is kind of unparalleled from an out of the box keyboard in my opinion. But and then I like the G Pro mouse. I use my old FPS mouse on the work computer now. There you go. Tendinitis from strafing? What do you mean from strafing? I have tendinitis in my left elbow because I didn't understand the idea of how to do proper stretches to... Oh, from CS. No. I mean, I actually do think I have a little bit of carpal tunnel in my right wrist from aiming, but no. It's definitely from weightlifting because I just didn't do any... I never did any stretching for my forearms or for my grips and, you know, grip strength and stuff. I just gripped the bar hard as fuck, and all of a sudden one day... I was doing tricep pull downs and was like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? And I had to stop. And it's a lot better now, but it's annoying right now. From weightlifting, yeah, we were just beating the schmeat way too hard. You don't answer controversial questions. There's nothing to be gained from it, you know? Anytime, I'm not one of these fucking hyper vigilant brand nerds or anything, but at the same time, you always want to ask yourself before you do anything, is it worth it for me? When you ask a fucking racist question, right, is only loss for me. There is no win. I'm so jaded from crypto, I thought you meant to check your bags from crypto holdings. No way. That's funny. I honestly couldn't even connect the dots of what the fuck you were saying at first. That's crazy, though. But yeah, I could see that. %. I am burnt right now, guys. I've been going hard between some of the behind-the-scenes things I've been doing, some of the Paragon updates, the cookbook stuff, all that. Has there even been a Solana of this cycle? I mean, Solana? What do you mean? Solana last cycle went from $3 to $250 or whatever. Solana this cycle went from 8 to 300. It's not that dissimilar. Maybe you could say Hyperliquid was the Solana of this cycle, but honestly, Solana was the Solana of this cycle. Thanks, Evan. I was really proud of it at the time. I genuinely could not do it right now. I weigh a little bit less because I'm not in the bulking mode that I was in. I probably weigh like 150 down from 160. So I'm really skinny right now. I could probably rep 185. I don't think I could get into the 200s right now, though, without hurting myself. Okay, guys, so let me move on and yap about some more alts here. So we kind of covered the Solana. If you want me to come back to it, by all means, I can. ETH or Solana, or I said that backwards. We already covered ETH. I think ETH's a pretty no-brainer play. You buy dips and chill. I have similar-ish vibes on Solana. No, I don't think that the era of Solana outperformance, right, that we got to experience in 2023, 2024, I think that's over. Solana's probably not going to be a gross outperformer anymore, but it will still go up. So having it as another layer 1 play to split your bets, it seems reasonable to me. The chart doesn't look bad by any means. It's not showing like immediate strength in the same way that Solana or in the way that ETH is. I don't know why I keep saying them backwards, but it still looks good. I don't think being heavy on meme coins makes sense, but out of all the plays you can make, when Bitcoin goes risk on, I think that memes are going to be the things that go up the most. And the sentiment around memes is honestly one of the things that makes me the most optimistic about it. I love that everybody hates memes and is so bearish on them. So I think that I'll start with Doge is the only meme I really own anything on, but we'll look to buy up other memes, right? We'll look to buy up some Pepe probably, some Bonk, some Fart probably, any large cap meme I'm gonna probably accumulate eventually. It just doesn't make sense to do it right now until the risk wave really comes. But this is gonna be I think this chart looks better on the quarterly. I feel like it is in the process of just slowly bottoming out from this like massive 45-cent run that it had. So I wouldn't necessarily sit here and say that you should be just aping into Doge just yet. If you want to be early, you ape into it now. If you're more comfortable being a little late, then I would just chill. Me personally, I've already been buying though. Run through some more SPX. Let's see what's going on with the SPX coin. Looks like it's fucking cooked right now, boys. I like this coin a lot because it has like a true cult behind it that is not really that correlated to CT. But, just like I said with Fart coin, you can't really buy things once the trend structure is this bad. So maybe you're hoping that it's just going to resolve like this, right? Do one of these kind of things. This is one, though, that I might look to buy eventually. I think that Pepe makes sense. It looks crazy. Pepe looks so much weaker than Doge, though. Wow. Okay, Hyperliquid. I know there's some Hyperliquid nerds in the chat. I don't own any Hyperliquid right now. Very, very happy with this move that has just kind of came through recently. It was an awesome opportunity. I honestly had a dog shit average entry. My average entry was $18, but still, even though my entry was terrible, it still was a ripper. I like this coin. I mean, it's clearly one of the strongest coins in the space right now, and layer 1s are hot, right? So there you go. I don't think that this is the worst, or I don't think this is the best bet per se, because I think from a risk-adjusted standpoint that ETH is just better. But if you're already in this thing, especially from lower, then just ride or die on this thing and just chill, I've already sold mine, so I'm not super interested in buying it back right now, because I'd be buying it back, frankly, above where I sold it, because most of my sells were at like $43. But yeah, it's decent. If I wanted to make an alternative layer 1 play, I would look at that. If I wanted to make a DeFi play, I would probably bet on Aave. I'll always love Aave for when it became Aave. This run was insane, so we'll always love Aave for that. If you want to make an RWA play, I think it's Pendle. Between Ondo and Pendle, those are your two large recognizable names. Pendle's chart looks so much better than Ondo, although I will go ahead and pull up the Ondo chart really quickly. I think I drew this a long time ago. I really feel like Ondo is gonna do this exact doodle. But between the two, if I was to make an RWA play, I'd probably just rather pick Pendle. Let's run through the boomers now. You cannot deny when you look at the Tron chart. I mean, this thing is an unstoppable force. So there you go. I think that this is the risk with Tron is in the uncertainty around its leadership and stuff. You never know what the fuck Justin's going to do one day. That's the main risk with this, but the chart looks insane. I will skip over Tron for my allocation most likely because I'm sketched by it in some ways. I'd rather pick things that I feel are safer, like Ripple probably, or maybe Litecoin, or maybe Bitcoin or BNB. I think BNB looks insane. All the dinos look insane right now, guys. Right? Bitcoin Cash, Monst. Oh, Bitcoin Cash is. That's interesting. Bitcoin Cash has been going up every day when the market's green, and it's going down on the greenish day. That's very strange. Between the dinos, though, you know, I don't like Tron that much. I wouldn't pick Bitcoin Cash either. I would say Ripple. The chart doesn't look the best, but Ripple will for sure be an attention getter. So we like Ripple for that reason. Look at Litecoin. This thing hasn't even gone up at all. Like, I was looking at this the other day thinking, honestly, buying Litecoin just over $100 makes sense to try to sell it at like, you know, 300 or 400. So there you go. Moving forward, I think Chainlink looks decent too. As a OG Link Mariner, I always love this coin, but I haven't owned any in a long time. Bonk could be a decent meme. Fartcoin will probably be a good meme eventually, but you want to be real patient with it because trend structure's terrible, so you want to wait for the attention to come back. Almost none of these other coins are going to be meaningful to me. Sui doesn't look bad, to be honest, but I won't be trading it. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I don't care about most of these other coins. So I'm going to pause and check chat and see where the conversation takes us next. Bought the Paragon indicator set and been really enjoying messing around with them. Cookbook is also dope. Thanks, brother. Happy to hear it, man. You think Doge $1 is overcrowded? Personally, I think either misses or overshoots. And anytime a level is obvious, I always say it overshoots or front runs, right? So if most of my levels for taking profit are way before $1. Look, there's the social media side of when I want to tell people to buy Doge, I'm going to tell them it's going to go to $1, it's going to go to $1.69, it's going to go to $4.20, any of these ridiculous targets. I'm going to say those because I want people to buy my coin, right? I own this thing. I pretty much never don't own at least some Doge. So, you know, we want, you know, it's just like last cycle, I sold most of my Ethereum at like 4,700, I think. But I would go on Twitter and say I'm selling it at 10K because I want people to be optimistic and believe it goes higher. Just being honest, right? So here's the framework, right? Either Doge comes up way short of $1 and kind of tops out in one of these kind of regions, or it goes a lot higher. That's valid what you said, right? You either go higher or you go lower. I can't like predict this kind of stuff. I'm just going to buy the coin and see how it goes, right? If I think it tops out at 69 cents, I'm going to sell it there. If I think it can go higher, then, you know, I'm going to pray for it to go higher, but be pragmatic along the way. And honestly, with something like Doge, because it's a large liquid coin, I'll be able to put a good bet on this. I already have an okay bet, but I'm going to build it up to a bigger bet eventually, assuming everything plays out right. I'm going to build this up, and I'll incrementally take profit on it, right? It doesn't make sense to say, oh, I'm going to sell it all at $1. No, I will incrementally take profit on something that's a bigger bag for me, you know? Because something like Doge is a trade, right? Bitcoin, I don't really buy it to sell it and make money. I just buy it to just buy it because it's a chat asset. Doge, I really just buy to have more dollars or to have more Bitcoin at the end. So I will be very comfortable selling my Doge and scaling it back to increase my holdings elsewhere. But there you go, guys. TLDR, Doge it's a crowded argument, but if it gets some momentum going, that's not going to fucking matter. And I could see it going either coming up way short of people's expectations or just going so far beyond, right? You don't have, you know, I know that Doge going to $2 or something from a market cap standpoint would be ridiculous, right? But you don't have to have logic and reality line up for very long, right? You could have a period where Doge is just ridiculously mispriced for 2-3 weeks, right? And you can exit into that. So that's what we pray happens. We just take the stuff day by day and just be real patient about it. How do you pick alts on the bottom of the bear market? PA looks like shit. I don't, guys. I don't do that kind of stuff, you know? We come back, come over to Bitcoin, and we'll look at high time frame and kind of review. Let's do some hindsight Harry shit. If you look at this, I did pivot to being bullish very, very early. I started to actually pivot to being bullish here. When ironically, I actually bought Litecoin at the bottom. Because Litecoin, if you were to put Litecoin and compare it against Bitcoin, your Litecoin bottomed weeks before Bitcoin did. So I started buying Litecoin at like $70 or something like that. And that was when the idea of like, okay, maybe just years of, literally a year plus of just pain, right? Maybe it's all over finally, So this is where I started to pivot. My original idea was, this was many people's ideas and I had to adapt, right? The idea was, if the previous range low was 20K, and we're right here building a range at 15, we want to reclaim 20K and then buy that and then go higher, right? But instead, what I did was I just started buying into this candle, right? I literally just started fucking buying into this candle because experiences taught me that, I didn't know how long it was going to take. It could have taken 7 months. It could have taken 7 days for us to do this retest. It took 3 months for us to do this retest where you would have been frozen out. And this was not easy to buy, right? Because this was a real FUD event. So there you go, guys. That's more or less how the bottom kind of took place for me. I bought a lot of Bitcoin in this region too. And then I even started buying Bitcoin more as we went higher. I did not buy hardly any Bitcoin, I don't think, in this stage. And then I bought Bitcoin higher. It is what it is. For the altcoin bit, though, how do you buy the bottom on alts? You don't. It's a futile endeavor, right? Sure. If I go throw a dart at altcoins randomly, every now and then I'm going to pick the bottom, right? But the majority, 90+% of them, I'm going to be early on and I'm going to go underwater. So there's no point in trying to time the bottom on things, right? What did I time the bottom on? I timed the bottom on Bitcoin and Solana. And then when you look at any other thing I ever bought or traded throughout the cycle, nothing else was early. Some of my biggest trades this cycle, let me try to remember some of them, right? My biggest derivative trade this cycle was WIF. I did not buy WIF early. I bought WIF late. Let me show you guys that trade. I actually don't even remember if I can show you the trade, but I can show you that I was not early even close. It was actually late as fuck. Oh, well, it's on the chart still. All right, guys. Free alpha. Whenever you hit a banger trade, just keep it on your chart forever, because that way, when you're washed and terrible, you can still remember the good moves. So I was not early to this trade. The bottom, this thing bottomed at 17 cents, and I bought it at 59 cents, I believe, something like 60 or 59. And this was a massive trade. It went up, 280 or 250% for me in just like a week. A massive move. But I was not early to it. I did not try to buy the bottom on this. I never even bought spot on this thing. I only ever traded derivatives on WIF. Okay, that's not a really good example, but the idea, right, is that you don't try to buy. You buy the bottom on Bitcoin. You wait for the Bitcoin to be proven, and then you buy alts, right? You never focus on the alts first, guys, because this is just not how things work. If there's confusion around that, please ask. But it's pretty straightforward. Been buying Doge now, as I don't know if I'll have the nuts to do it later. That's fair. I mean, one of the values of being early to positioning is that you don't have to deal with the FOMO of buying higher, right? But the flip side is that you're just so much more prone to drawdown. So it's, do you want to be early and deal with drawdown, or do you want to be late and deal with FOMO, right? It's just, that's the trade-off. There's no perfect answer. You got to pick one of the two. All right, you bastard. I'll look at your hype against Bitcoin. Dog, I can't even look at that. I gotta like make the ticker up. I don't remember how to do that. All right, there you go. Yeah, hype looks, I did not realize that hype looked this strong against Bitcoin. It looks good, no doubt. No doubt. I don't own any hype though, so I'm not gonna bull post it. It's as simple as that. It's a terrible coin because I don't own any. I sold it all already. Crow looks sick in my opinion. I don't, yeah, I don't know, guys. I probably will be ignoring this. Okay, yeah, it looks interesting. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I want to play the scam world, though. This is definitely a scam. As long as you acknowledge it's a scam, maybe you can do well with it. You know, I'm going to steer clear of this one probably, though. I saw this announcement this morning right away. I saw. I got you, Coleman. I can't say too much on this, bro. You know, it's definitely a positive that it's been able to, it's got the Lindy effect going for it, right? That's a positive. I can't say anything on a chart like this, though, right? I don't have anything to go off of. I don't even know what this thing is. It trades very illiquid. Holy fuck. This thing is probably very centralized control from a supply standpoint, because the way this thing is moving is just not, just like, look at this. This is a spot pair. If I could say more value, I would, but I don't have much to say on this, man. Ethereum Classic, I'm not gonna agree, you said? I actually haven't looked at Ethereum Classic in a minute. You know what? Valid. This is valid. I hate this fucking drag and drop bullshit on TradingView. Okay, the chart does not look that great to me. However, it is definitely known that Ethereum Classic is highly correlated to ETH, and if ETH does well, Ethereum Classic should do well as well. So there you go. I probably won't make this trade at all, but I could definitely see this thing just being a monster. Alright, I'll look at your hook coin in the future, bro. Don't. You saying it a bunch of times isn't going to make me more likely to want to look at it. Whew! Alright, guys. You want your coin to look like this. Not this. Bro, if you're underwater on this thing, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You pray it goes up again and you sell it, but honestly, yeah, you just pray for any exit on coins that look like this, right? I don't want to say this. I'm not saying this because I want to. I'm saying this because I have to, right? You guys cannot sit in coins that look like this. So we'll only ever lose your money. You're just exit liquidity if you buy this. I'm honestly surprised this hook coin is even still around. Do you do research on the fundamental of the altcoin? Never. Never, guys. I have friends that are smart with that kind of stuff. My mentor Sting, and I have a bunch of other friends too that, like, that's just their thing. So why would I try to do something I'm not good at when I have friends that I can just ask? So a simple voice chat every now and then. Oh, I want to learn about hype. I got like fucking 5 friends that know way more than me about hype that I could go learn about that, you know? So I just leverage my social network for that kind of stuff mostly. Let my boys tell me what they think. I've been here long enough to where I have legitimate friends that I can trust, and I know they're not going to mislead me, right? And I know that they have track records and like have done things, you know, well in the past. So honestly, a lot of my boys that I've been friends with for, you know, many years, I just put a lot of faith in their opinions on these kind of things for fundamentals. It's just not my wheelhouse. To be clear though, that has very little effect on like my, you know, I'm not going to take a trade just because somebody said it's bullish, right? If my friend tells me the fundamentals are bullish, that's just going to make me more likely to want to take the trade. I have to want to take the trade on my own though to begin with. But having said all that, guys, I've had some really good trades just copying some of my boys, honestly. Sting handed me the metaverse trade in 2021. Sand went up 800% in 3 weeks, I think it was. So there you go. TLDR, make friends. Whiff was a fucker for me. Round tripped a lot. IDK, how Ansem got into my head thinking it was going to go to $10. He's just doing his job, guys, you know. That's what I said earlier, right? Even I'm not Ansem by any means. I'm going to do the same thing. If I want Doge to go to $3, you know, or if I want Doge to go to $1, I'm going to tell everyone it's going to 3. That's just how she goes. The amount of Trump scamming is getting concerning. Surprised Dems aren't cooking changes, bro. They don't have the power to do so. Let them cook. Too many T's on the USDT. Too many T's. He's definitely short, guys. He's short, I'm tall. It's the worst chart I've seen in a while. Beyond cooked. Damn, you know, if we're doing one thing right, that's one of the things that we're doing right with these streams. You guys know what a good coin is and a bad coin is now, because we do that. We've been doing this for fucking 5 years, where we pull up coins and we say this is a good coin, this is a bad coin. And you know, I always do the simple example of inverting. Always invert. If your chart looked like this, I'd be like, holy fuck, please give me a dip to 20 cents and I will shove into that, right? But you know, it just looks like the exact opposite. So right now you're praying for a pump to 20 cents so you could sell it. It's prime accumulation, 100%. This is just prime time accumulation. Mystic confirmed. You're saying $3 wanting to go to $1. Really, you're going to sell at 70 cents because you're telling us $1. 100%, Chuck. Chuck Norris. I mean, of course, Chuck Norris is going to see right through my facade. There's layers to the scam. Tether is now the White House too. Yeah, I mean, that's good though. You know, I like the idea of Tether and USDC. USDC sketches me out a little bit more than Tether, to be honest, but I want to see them win. We're looking at Tia now. Yeah, we'll look at Tia. I actually had a lot of hate on Twitter when I made fun of Tia originally. I made fun of this thing a lot when it was like, you know, double-digit numbers and stuff. Just let this be a lesson for you guys, you know. I've taught this before, even though I'm not a fundamental guy. I've been around the block enough to know any sort of dynamic where people are trying to get you to lock your tokens up so you can get a reward, you need to be fucking scared of, right? When people tell you we're gonna lock your shit up and reward you, it's normally a scam. So if you're not early to the lockup, then you're gonna get smacked up in that process, right? So avoid lockups, stay liquid. Chuck is a real one, confirmed. Big booty coins, but it never rounds out. What's the opposite of a big booty coin? Isn't USDC Coinbase backed? They're collaborative for sure. I don't think that I would say that. I don't know the specifics of if they're backed by any means, but I do know that they're obviously, you know, in close collaboration. USDC is clearly the US backed stable, and Tether's clearly not. But there's no, I mean, again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm a layman with this argument, but there's no world where I see Tether being worse than USDC. If you go and just do a surface level scan and compare the two, Tether makes a fuck ton of money, and I don't think that USDC makes any money. So there you go. Like Tether is one of the most successful companies in the history of mankind when you weight it by how small it is from a employee standpoint. Founder of Tether is now worth $25 billion, has not been on camera for 10 years. Is Paolo not the founder? For some reason, I always assumed Paolo was the actual founder. Maybe he's just the CEO that got put in place. I got my shit locked and just seeing it fall down. LOL. Well, bro, I say this from that. I've been through the lesson, right? Anytime there's a situation where they try to get you to lock your tokens up, lock your liquidity up in order to get a reward, If you're not early to it, it's normally going to be a scam that's going to make you lose money, right? Only if you're early to that is that not a real threat to you. But in the end, both are buying US bonds, right? I don't actually know how. I know that, like, I know Tether is buying up an enormous amount of US debt. I don't actually know how USDC stuff is structured, guys. I'm not the person to ask. Tether's one of the largest US debt holders with 127 billion in treasuries. There you go. That's why, that is 100% why the US stance changed on stables, because they realized, oh, they're buying our debt. We like them now, right? It's as simple as that. Tether's also going to be the collapse of crypto, confirmed, right? So if you guys haven't been around a long time, what was that? What was the Tether guy's name? Lucifer, I know you know his name. Bitfinex, that was it. There's an account that was popular on CT for a long time called Bitfinex, and he would every day he would write out a thread about how Tether was not backed 1-to-1 and it was going to collapse. And he got some respect early on, but then just got clowned, right? Because clearly Tether just grew and grew and grew and continued to succeed, and clearly he was wrong. Never let yourself be that guy, right? The one that wants to bet against everything, that wants to see everything fail. Because those guys never make any money. They just die poor. ENA looks decent. We can look at ENA. I like that ENA is related to the stablecoin narrative, right? I've seen some, I have some nerd friends that are really bullish on ENA. This is a tough one for me to say a whole lot on. Because it really kind of looks like it's just doing this again. I don't know. I can't provide much value on this. I understand that, like, this protocol actually has a purpose, unlike most, but it doesn't always relate to token value. So I'm pretty sure, like, the Trump port owns ENA. I think World Liberty even has some involvement with them recently. So this could be a good coin. I'll drag it up on my watch list, but realistically, I'm probably going to ignore it. You can't spread yourself too thin. Please share spot buy and stop loss. Yeah, I got you with the stop loss and everything. Market buy right now and stop at the swing point. You're welcome. The worst advice I could ever give. Look, guys, I can't predict where this thing is going to bottom out. It's just not possible, because a coin like Fartcoin doesn't move off of any sort of logic that I can, any sort of tangible logic. This thing is just a highly controlled, manipulated coin, to be honest, and it's just going to bottom out whenever who's in control of it says we're not going down anymore, right? It's a gross oversimplification, right? Because it's not that simple, right? There's just one guy saying it's the bottom, but in some sense, it kind of can be condensed down that much that eventually this thing's just going to it's going to bottom from people making a bottom, right? And, I'm not going to try to buy the bottom on this thing, I'll probably end up buying this thing at, like, way up here. This thing will probably do this. And I'll buy it, like, right here. There you go. You heard it here first, boys. Market buy. Market buy 69 cents. Stop loss 420. Take profit 420. If this trade plays out, you guys owe me 6 beers. No, this will never be what it looks like, but it will be hilarious if so. All right, what are the boys saying? Thoughts on plasma? I can't say anything, bro. Okay, we got a ticker at least. Oh wow, this is a tradable thing? Whoa. The boys came through for me today. Actually gave me the value, got returned back. I didn't know this thing got listed. Okay, you can't say too much about like something that's brand new like this. I will be paying attention to it and seeing if it forms any sort of trend structuring. If I think this thing is gonna do a new coin trend, then I'm gonna probably participate in it short term. Just got listed though, 4 days ago. Tether do not share yield, whereas Circle pays Coinbase loads to give users yield. For sure. I don't, that doesn't mean that, like, I don't think that, like, it's not like Coinbase owns, like, Tether, you know, or Circle in any way, right? They're just, like, collaborative partners, I think. But yeah, I mean, the yield factor of USDC is the only value proposition for it, right? I probably wouldn't have any USDC if it wasn't for the yield. But the fact that I actually get paid out, I think it's like 4.3% on my big stack, and then my little stack is getting like 12% right now. I mean, that's pretty not bad, you know, pretty not bad. All right. I always thought Paulo was the #1 guy, but he isn't. Well, Paulo does a really great job with the social media side and holding it together and being a chat in the moments when he needs to be, so that's good. Locking up your tokens is a scam. I did it in 2021 with the cult tokens, rookie mistake. Hey, brother, but you learned the lesson. And now in the future, when other people get debated into locking up their tokens, you're going to know how to operate. So look at it as a positive. You know, you got to learn, you got to lose so that you can know what you're doing in the future. I did not buy the plasma sale, no. Only 60 likes and crazy. Everyone drop a like. I appreciate you guys for shouting that out for me. You can get, all right, guys, take everything I say with a grain of salt, but yeah, you can get 12% on up to 100K on Coinbase. So you have to take your you take your USDC and you put it into the futures account, and then you get 12%. So yeah, it's a good thing you asked, because normally if somebody says 12% or anything like that, it's almost always a scam. And so the percentages you should be expecting are like 4%, 4 or 5%. That's within reason. When Fartcoin ETF, we're gonna Dogecoin ETF first, 100%. How to trade new coins? If you want to trade a new coin, you need to know what the fuck it is. If you want to trade a new coin, you need to understand the fundamental argument of why it exists. You need to understand the tokenomics a little bit, how the distribution played out and stuff like that. And then you need to be a basic trend trader with VWAPs. And that would be my shill. What up, Doc? Clear question, how do you manage position when you sleep, especially scalp and intraday? I don't sit overnight with scalp and intraday, ever. There you go. The only positions I ever carry overnight are swing trades, positional trades, etc. Should I move my family's emergency fund over to Coinbase futures and not tell them? 100%, bro. You should also go 69x leverage on that stack too. I want to be able to come on here and joke, but I just can't, right? I want to make the joke like, oh yeah, you should go and take your family savings and margin it with 5x and then go and put that into the lending protocol, right? But it's just not funny, you know, to say that stuff. My bad, guys. Look, anytime you hear anything that sounds like retarded advice, it's because I'm joking, you know? A lot of you guys have heard this. Maybe some of you guys haven't. But it's really important that I always pass this lesson on. In trading or business or any of this kind of bullshit that's in front of us, if you're all work and no play, you're not going to make it. I don't know anybody, unless they were just severely Rain Man autistic, where they could just be all work and no play and then they prospered. Everybody that I know that's done well knows how to have fun in the middle, right? When we're moving in the direction of our goals, stop and have fun, have a laugh in the middle, right? So that's why I'm always trying to joke around on stream, or, you know, whenever I do calls with my friends. Like, if you think that if I am doing a call with one of my trader friends, you think we talk about trading, you're fucking dead wrong, right? We joke around, try to have a laugh, right? And I really think that I always am trying to pass that lesson on for a real reason. There's no way I would have reached the level that I've reached today if I didn't learn how to have fun. I'm a serious person by default. That was just how I came out, into the world. I was a serious person, very literal, didn't understand sarcasm, right? Going into trading and stuff made me start to understand like how to let go and how to joke around more and stuff. And I really think it's a valuable lesson for you guys. Have fun. You only got one life. Should you just close it even when it's not invalidated? Pretty much, man. Pretty much. It's not like, if I'm going to go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, it's not like I'm opening a scalp position at 8 o'clock, I mostly scout, most of my active trading is going to be in the first half of the day. So every now and then I'll have a trade where it's like, okay, I opened it at 8 o'clock in the morning and then it just didn't play out and it's like 4 hours later I'm still in the trade. But eventually, yeah, I'm just going to close the trade whether it played out or not. If it sounds redacted, it's redacted, 100%. Kraken CEO cell phone screenshot was hilarious. I didn't see it, man. Looked at the Coinbase futures, but the disclosures scare me. They have to put out all those disclosures because they're actually following the rules, unlike most other platforms. So I'm actually work with Coinbase now, and I'm helping them to build out a couple different products. The main thing that they wanted me to work with them was the perps. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that we're where we want to be, right? We're very far off from the product being to the level that we want, that the team and myself want it to be to, but we are working in that direction. I do meetings with Coinbase every week about how to move forward with their products. They're a really big company, so it's hard for them to move fast because they got so many employees and stuff, but we are moving in the right direction. And honestly, I'm really happy, not just for my own personal level, but for Coinbase and for the space in general. It's actually a really good thing that they hired people like me and Doc, because I'm actually surprised how much value we have to offer them in the calls because of our perspective and our insights and stuff. So don't get me wrong. Excuse me. My voice just gave out. Been talking too much. Don't get me wrong. The platform's not where we want it to be. But every couple of weeks, we are moving forward and making it a little bit better. Just unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is behind the scenes that you guys don't see, But I'm trying to build out the product that I want to use, right? That's one of the main reasons why we're teaming up with them, is I want to use the product. So I can't trade on the product right now, right? It's not liquid enough for me to even execute a trade. So there's a lot of progress that needs to be made, but I am very, very confident that we're going to get there. Yeah, but Lucifer, it's kind of a valid point, but also you answered your own question, right? That's why. There's a lot of fucking people in the US that have disposable income. They needed you, to be honest. Thanks, 47. It's just, yeah, it's not a hate towards anything, kind of thing. 99% of the time, the people that build products are not the people that have used them. So that's why someone like Doc and myself are so valuable to Coinbase, because I know what I want everything to be like, right? I've used so many platforms now. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yapping about that. But honestly, I know that there's some clowning here and there, but they're making strides, right? And teaming up with Doc and myself is seriously such a great decision on their part. Anyways, guys, so that's more or less it for me. If you guys have any last second questions, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to probably wrap up the stream here pretty soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. Hopefully you learned something today. Shout out to Coinbase for sponsoring my content. It feels like an incredible badge of honor to have like the #1 brand want to work with me. So shout out to them. Boomers, grandpas, and EU definitely use Coinbase. I don't actually know what their like user base stats look like, but they're probably pretty well rounded around the world, right? Because they are the most recognizable brand. For example, getting a little too personal here, but you know, when I do something in my career, I normally don't tell my family or friends about it because it's just not really, you know, I don't really care to brag. I don't really care too much about dealing with trying to explain it. But the Coinbase deal was one that I like immediately told some of my family members about because it's something that they could understand, right? So Coinbase's name is recognized by everybody in the world, right? Whether you know crypto or you don't, they know Coinbase. So like, you know, my grandpa knows what Coinbase is, right? Even though he thinks Bitcoin is a scam still. So there you go. There you go, Lucifer. Nice. Legend. Work in silence is better for me too. You know, there's always that part of you that wants to show people your wins or whatever, you know, show people the medals. But there isn't really anything to be gained from that because at the end of all of it, if you do worse than other people, then they're going to look down on you, right? So if some guy makes $100,000 a year and you go, man, I just fucking killed it. My first successful year of trading, I just made $55K. You're actually outperforming so many people by making $55K in a year from trading, right? But that guy that makes $100K a year at his job might look down on you, right? So that was a negative experience for you. The flip side, let's say you make $500K trading a year and you just crushed that guy, right? He only made $100K. Now he's going to be jealous and resentful. So there's just genuinely there's no gain to be had with talking about this stuff, you know? Only with some of my closest friends do I have these kind of conversations with, and even them I'm not fully open about everything. Because at the end, you're mostly going to have a negative experience trying to talk about this stuff with people. And that sucks because you're all on your own so much that just having a little moment to talk about your life can be a moment of connection and make you feel not all alone. But you have to just be really, really tactful about what you say in those moments. Because, yeah, it's just you're not going to get the response that you should, right? You should, when you say, I just ate shit and worked so hard for the past 4 years and I succeeded, people should say, good job, bro. I'm proud of you. That kind of stuff. A lot of the time people are going to be jealous. And it's such a weird thing. So anyways, I'm going to stop this yap because I don't know if it necessarily makes any sense to you, but as time goes on, I share less and less for these reasons because even the people that want the best for you, like your mom, for example, things can get weird. And we'll leave it there. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Read chat really quickly. Your granddad prefers the Dow Jones? 100%. What's up with old people and them caring about the Dow Jones? Old people in my life always ask me about the Dow, and I'm like, bro, I haven't looked at the Dow ever. It's the fucking S&P. People don't care about your success, they get mad. Pretty much, man. So high-key, you guys probably wouldn't really believe, you're going to think I'm lying about this, but a lot of the people that are in my life, if you're super close to me, you're my best friend, one of my best friends, you know what I've done. My friends that are one separation beyond that, where the friend that I only see once a year, those guys all think I'm poor. And, been living in the same house for 6 years because I have to. So, there you go. That's valid, Cryptoski. Only at the top. I don't even think I'm at the top, guys. I'm proud of myself, but the top is all about perspective. There is no top, though. If you're really smart, you recognize there's no such thing as a top. I'm glad that hopefully helped you, 47. Just being consistently profitable puts you in the top percentage of traders. Yeah, even if you only make, you don't even get taxed at less than 10K a year where I live, right? So you can make $9,000 in a year and still technically have that be outperformance. It's the boomer's ETH. All right, Lucifer. All right, guys. That's it for me, though. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hopefully you learned something or got a laugh. That's it for me. I'm going to pop out and get a bunch of stuff done.